Hello, everybody. This is Sasha from Sexpert Talks, and today I'm so happy to have Jennifer Jade with us. She's a love and sex and relationship coach from Love Made Simple. And
Hello.
welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sasha. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So, we're going to be talking about an amazing topic. When she told me first about this, I just got like full body chills because it feels so exciting. As a person that has been married for 17 years, when I heard this topic, I was like, yes, please, we need more of this. So, what does monogamy have to learn from non-monogamy relationships?
Oh my God, the topic is endless. I want to share a little bit about how this came to be first.
Yes.
I had been always kind of interested in relationships and in quote unquote fixing them when I was really young, and had been studying and interviewing anyone that would talk to me about their private life literally since I was like 6. It's pretty inappropriate, but always fascinating. And I kept getting kind of the same story, like don't get married. I would get really weird things like you're too, pretty. Like that there were these, even as a child, these like very sad, urgent warnings from women and men to like avoid at all costs marriage, which was really heartbreaking to me because I was raised in 8 different countries before the age of 11. So I had seen kind of marriage across all these different cultures, both Latin, European, and American, and they all kind of suffered with this. You can only really be happy if you have like a side relationship or if you're constantly lying to each other. You maybe are that rare once in a blue moon unicorn that are happy together, but I had actually never met one at that time. And it was really heartbreaking as a kid to like really want to believe in this partnership and love and just keep getting these like very saddened adults being like, don't do it. So
Yeah.
eventually that led me to study my whole dissertation on different types of love and what the next stage is. Different types of love in our human history across the ages, and then what's next, because it kind of stopped after our development of it officially kind of stopped after marriage, which was a socioeconomic arrangement that made a lot of sense if one person was going to work and provide everything and the other person was going to run the household, raise the children, yada yada. We all know that story. So I kind of thought that since we were changing so much as a society and so quickly, there needed to be something else. And then I couldn't necessarily find anyone that was okay with that. I got a lot of backlash from it. A lot of, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is really dangerous. Think about the backlash it'll have on children across the world. It was quite interesting how angry people would get at the suggestion that there might be a different evolution to this beautiful concept of love. And so I traveled across the United States and I started interviewing alternative couples, like I would say like 7 years later after this very disillusioned attempt in college. And I had really only found out about them about 7 years ago, that there were communities and that there were all these different shades and colors of families, if you will, that really identified as happy. That was incredibly shocking to me. I was like, I found them and they live in the shadows. But in LA, we're very lucky. In California, it's more open. In different states across of America, there are varying levels of how open people are in sharing their open families. But it did offer some hope as to the more personalized your contract with whoever you decide to spend the rest of your life with is, the higher percentage of happiness for like the rest of your life. So many of the people that I interviewed were people that started with monogamy and married and would be together for 20 plus years, raise children, and then either by accident or through crisis, open up, but very consciously, and start exploring whether just going to a party or like a sex party, or dressing up and going to just a themed party, depending on how comfortable they were, or just like diving in and going to something called a munch, which is alternative relationship lunch, if you will. Nothing happens there. You just get to all have lunch and like talk about it. You get to ask a bunch of questions to people that maybe are there to meet somebody or are happy to share with you what this is. And the surprising factor across the board isn't that they like then went and had a million partners and are only happy because they're not actually together. It brought them back to this quite consistent level of constantly being in a new relationship with each other, constantly cycling new energy, never taking each other for granted. It took away a little bit of the comfort and the safety that is so divine to build a family that can just murder eroticism if it's not accompanied with other very conscious exercises to like bring in some thrill and excitement and desire and new energy into that relationship.
Oh my God, I love it. And it resonates so much with my experience. I have seen that firsthand, like the fear of couples when they get together. Oh my God, I'm going to lose the freedom, and it's like a panic, right? Like a sense of like if a couple was a ball and chain and not really a conscious coupling. And something that you mentioned that is so important is that marriage is a socioeconomical agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we take that for granted, that it has always been that way, but it has a reason to be that way. And romanticism was not it's just recent that we connected romanticism and romantic love with marriage. It has like what, 100 years maybe.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, it was developed because this like need-be basis of what would set people up for most success and blah blah blah. And now with the more that technology evolves, the less we actually like need each other, and what we're left with is freedom, which actually causes a lot of existential angst in everybody because we're not used to having so much of it. Like if everything is an option, you have so many choices to make. Whether that is your sexuality, whether that is if you want children, where you live, if you live in hotels by choice, if you travel the world all the time, or if you live on a farm, or if you're gonna have a test tube baby. Like the options are actually infinite. So what's left is love fully by choice. Now both sexes can work and be equally, if not more, thriving financially. It's just we're left with this, like what's left now is fully choice. And maybe we don't have much practice in fully choosing each other outside of immediate logic. But like, of course I would choose this because we're building a family and because it makes sense economically and blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, no, it's just out of freedom that we choose each other.
Wow. And that changes totally the connection, the nature of the connection, right? Like I'm not with you because I need you, but I'm with you because I want to.
Yeah.
And that also creates a different level of intimacy, right?
Yeah. The funny thing is, I actually think it creates a lot of, because we're not used to it, the immediate impulse in our like quickly overturning society is, if this is just based out of freedom and not out of need of what we can give each other, like, are you my best choice? Could there be a better one out there? Instead of, I chose you for a reason, and can we cultivate something here? the immediate go-to, maybe out of some like ingrained social fear of intimacy anyway, is to be like, is this the actual right choice for me? There's so many others I have seen. I don't know if that's what you see in your
Yeah,
coaching as well. It's a haunting question for people.
absolutely. Absolutely. Even with partners that love each other,
Yeah.
that have shared a history. I mean, I have to confess, I have thought about that, and I know that my husband has. Like, are we the best choice for one another? Right? Even when we decide to be together, the question is always hunting you down.
Yeah. And that actually brings me to the most important thing that monogamy can learn from non-monogamy. Non-monogamy uses that question and that kind of destabilizing energy as an arousal tactic. Non-monogamy doesn't mean you have sex with other people. Non-monogamy is just like, you can be monogamish. You know, it's whatever the fuck you want. Oh, can I swear?
Yes, please.
Excellent. So it can be whatever the fuck you want. And it can mean you just like go and explore other people's energies, or you go to different cruises that are just naked. I mean, the options are literally endless. Once you start looking into it, it's out of control. Sexuality is the only part of our lives that has absolutely no boundaries naturally, because it's all imagination based.
Mhm.
The freedom in it is endless, endless. You can literally bring it down to the most taboo things that are like highly illegal and you'd be put in jail forever. Make them erotic and make them work for your relationship. You know, there's this superpower in our sexuality that, again, without being given permission first to have it, to just be it already, and then share it with this partner that you've promised to share the rest of your evolutionary life together with, it kind of like stagnates and just becomes something that's wrong with you, which you then naturally project onto your life and your partner. There must be something wrong with him, when it's really the backlash of being this like sensual and feeling and multidimensional sexual animal and having no permission to share it with your other multidimensional sexual animal, and kind of like either laughing about it or just sharing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we
Okay,
froze for a
froze a little
second.
bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're still.
Yeah, we're still here. It just froze for a moment. Oh,
Hello. I
yeah.
see you. Yay.
Yes. Yeah. So, when you're speaking about using our sexuality with that freedom,
Yeah.
uh, I hear also that you're speaking about because there is a part that can be a little bit triggering, which is the edges, right? The parts that can be also illegal, or almost, not also, but almost illegal. It's like we have it in our fantasy, in the way in which we can
Yeah.
relate to our partner, right? Like we can always play and create an exchange that is consensual and playful, role playing, involving others with that openness.
Yeah. Yeah. And because it's fantasy, it doesn't innately mean anything about hours accounted for, either with kids or with work or with your purpose, whatever it is, working out. A place where you can be so intimate about something so kind of I mean exciting, but it's like edgy. It's like also scary. It's also like maybe you never told anybody, and a place where you can be seen and loved, and you know, more than often the person responds with like laughter and like, oh my god, I have the same kind of thing but totally different, and this is what it, like, it starts off this kind of like cascade of permission. It brings in innocence, it brings in a lot of playfulness, unless there is like very deep religious shame inside. That takes a little bit longer because it's ingrained with this kind of like innate sense of there's something wrong with you anyway, or you're doing something wrong with that, which can also be made quite fun in the bedroom, but it takes a little more time. So yeah.
Yeah, so sexuality as this safe haven where we can be anything we want to be.
Yeah.
where we can explore our edges, where we can explore our deepest, darkest corners, and we can share them with the people that we desire to share them with.
Yeah.
And then the alternative to monogamy. So we want to shake that that place that is no longer, or that system that is no longer functional, because it can actually be limiting to our freedom.
Yeah.
How can we go and do that in a way that feels safe?
Yeah.
And because I have seen that one of the most painful reasons of suffering is jealousy.
Yeah.
And it's this sense of, I am going to be left alone. My partner is not going to want to be with me. He's going to find somebody prettier, or he's going to, that means he has permission to go and, play around with everybody. How can you create that safe container in a way that is healing and not a cause of deeper suffering?
I love this question, because this is so monumental to, I think, why alternative relationships work, why they feel, when you're in an open relationship, and I've been in one for 3 years, you're not getting around. Like, you're not getting away with feeling anything. Like, you're so attuned to your partner because of the amount of emotional exercise that you guys have to do in order to safely play, and the amount of fuck ups that innately come with that you can't get away with stuff. So I think in monogamy, when I've been in monogamy, and he and I are monogamous now, you can get away with a lot of stuff, because you can take your container for granted. Oh, we're married, that means he's not going to do anything, and if he does, the consequences, we're leaving each other, or hell. You don't really see a drive for, like, oh, I'm really jealous of this person that they work with. But you miss out on this enormous opportunity to A, be incredibly vulnerable, B, be received by your partner, C, be reassured. Reassurance is like the most amazing, aphrodisiac, surrendering, powerful force in the world. The issue is also not only with the person feeling jealousy, but in a partnership, I find men and women, when a partner comes in and is like, I'm so jealous of this situation, whether there's truth in it or not, the response is typically kind of like anger or shaming, or like you're being ridiculous, maybe some gaslighting, or some really lovely gaslighting, like, oh, you have nothing to worry about, versus like, yeah, there's some attraction there, but let's sit down and talk about how can I make you feel safer. The whole point of building this intimate relationship isn't to avoid conflict. It is a little bit in monogamy, which is also the least erotic thing possible. Safe is not sexy. Unless you're in like a little bit of kinky danger, then safe is great. But as a like standard for the rest of your life, it's gonna get old. So these things kind of come up as an opportunity for you and your partner to create an experience of, we can handle anything. We can handle, the new age Pamela Anderson coming to work at your office, and I know that you're going to receive my feelings no matter how many times they come up, with love and support. You're going to call me at lunch. The interesting thing, you're going to call me at lunch. We're going to make a system out of it. And the interesting thing is, that's not a forever thing. Typically when someone feels unsafe, they just need to feel safe for a little while in order to trust things again, and then they can relax. And then they kind of have a bigger trust of the relationship anyway. By leaning into the jealousy, by having the person respond without fear, it creates that trust that they can handle anything and anyone coming in. And that is missing, I find, in monogamy, or in my monogamous relationships, for sure.
My heart is just like so happy feeling and receiving this, because I can totally see how that changes the dynamic, because that the gaslighting, the cheating, the going behind you, and that destroys your self-esteem. when when that conversation that you're mentioning actually builds you up, and eventually that makes more space for freedom.
Absolutely. It also gives your partner space to feel the same. And then there's this experience of like gratitude that you're both capable of feeling these intense things for each other, and you're both capable of handling it. Like in non-monogamy, if one person feels triggered, depending on your container, for a lot of the people that I coach, this is how I would like them to do it. And for my relationship, it's what works best for me. It was like, if I was in pain, everything stops. If he was in pain, everything stops. Like, there is no entitlement. There is no, well, you said I could yesterday. It's, oh, you're in pain. Everything stops in order to listen, in order to love, in order to remove the urgency and provide abundance and healing and some pleasure if need be. Like, it's just totally different than what I have found our modern relationships encourage, which is, yeah, I feel like it's more like bare knuckling it through, try not to fight, don't be a nag, like all of these things that are really painful to hear when they're coming from somewhere really real inside of you,
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I love that, and I want to make sure that we repeat that enough. When your partner is in pain, everything stops. So
Mm.
that's the one place of safety. That's so you have safety in your partner. I am hearing that safety with your partner is not about it's not about that steady place that becomes boring and it's dangerous and it's not sexy, but about knowing that whatever happens, your partner is going to have your back and it's going to make you the most important thing um, in the world. So that for me feels totally seductive. Like, oh my God, I would so want that in my relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice. And then, that doesn't just happen immediately. Also, there's a level of teaching each other that I think needs to happen as well, because you're both really different. So maybe for one person, talking immediately really helps. Maybe for the other one, a little bit of space really helps. And it can be really uncomfortable when you feel like you've hurt your partner somehow, even if it's just by the new colleague. A lot of our immediate primal reaction is, but I didn't do anything wrong and I'm committed to you. So what else do you want from me? And it can be the most painful thing to receive when you feel so ashamed of feeling insecure anyway. Like, but these feelings are the important part. The feeling is actually a gift. It's like, ooh, here's an opportunity for you guys to overcome this and like devour each other afterwards. Like,
Oh, I love that. I love that so much because I know that that is the need beyond the need, right? Like when you are actually craving that connection with your partner, somehow what you're craving is to know that you're safe to feel whatever you feel, that it's okay to feel whatever you feel, and that it's going to be welcome, that it's not going to be judged and shame, and that you're not going to have to be blamed for feeling something that is beyond you, that just happens when you see your stability as a couple being challenged somehow.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yes, I love that. Oh my God, this conversation is golden. I just want to show it to everybody that I know in couples, because I have seen that there is so much pain with insecurity. I know that you are Mexican or part Mexican. Is that true?
I'm quite a mix. So I'm half Russian. I was born in Ecuador, but my mom's Peruvian, and our whole family on her side is Peruvian.
Oh,
So,
yes. So you have Latina blood as well, because I am Mexican, and I know that an issue with Latin American culture is that infidelity is seen as something that happens, and you just let it happen, right? Like, and you just let it happen. And then in the American culture, we have the opposite. It's like there is a huge punishment, and people is shame if they let it happen. So the Latin American woman knows that her partner was unfaithful and she forgives him because it's harder to let him go. and the American woman knows that her partner was unfaithful and she leaves him right away.
Yeah.
But then there is pain on both sides.
Yeah.
There is suffering, there is misunderstanding,
Mhm.
and all of this because we never made an agreement that would work just for us, where we can say, so you can go this far, and when this happens, please let me know this way, or don't let me know until you get to this point, whatever works for the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there's such a difference between, a sex addict, a person that had a hiccup because some part of their very repressed self was missing something and this is how they found it. A person who's a narcissist, sociopath, who enjoys or doesn't feel anything from causing you pain. A psychopath. Like, there are varying degrees of when you should run and when it is, a very deep and horrible human mistake that can be so painful and destructive for both people. There is a time when this happens, and it should be looked at with respect for both parties, with pain acknowledgement for both parties, with not what the hell is wrong with you and you're going to burn in hell, but where did this come from first? Maybe it is a what the hell is wrong with you, and there's a time and space to acknowledge if that's the case. But a lot of us were just told, like, just don't feel that, just fucking put it in your body and stop feeling that. Like, that causes these trigger reactions when we drink alcohol, when we're under stress, when we fight with our partners, when we're driven away for whatever tragedy, when a death happens. Like, it's just all of these little grenades inside of us ready to go off at any point. And then you get more hell put on you instead of the person that has said till death do you part being like, I'm right here, you really hurt me, but let's figure out what happened before I make some whiplash response to punish you for the pain that you're causing.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned the different layers and different kind of people, like, because it's so easy to all of a sudden encompass everybody in, now let's everybody have open relationships. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we find ourselves being gaslit into relationships that we don't really want, but that's the woke thing to do. And so it's like, we don't necessarily need to all go into a new uh, like uniform pattern. We need to find what works for us.
Yeah.
And to understand that there are different needs and there are different people, that sometimes it's not about the freedom of the relationship, it's just that person is not the right person to be with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely don't think everyone should be in an open relationship. Like, unless you love communicating all the time, like I do, like, unless that is like what drives your whole life, do not do that. Or you want to be like super poly, where everyone is a primary, and I wouldn't say it's easier. You definitely know more if you're poly because it feels natural to you to do that, to have like multiple primary-ish seeming partners. But yeah, I don't think open's for everybody. Just how I don't think marriage and monogamy is for everybody. And I think in your body if it's for you or not. I think if you are saying no to it because you're terrified is different than saying no to it because you really have no interest in it and there's no charge around the no. You're just like, oh, it doesn't really excite me. It doesn't make me really repulsed. There's no like enormous backlash from it. It's just, that's not for you. Great.
I love it. I love it. So as a conclusion, is that the word, conclusion? Yeah. I would just like to ask, what advice could you give couples in order to examine their relationship, the current situation? Like, what can they do next if they are wondering?
Perfect. So I think the major reason that these alternative relationships identify as happy constantly for decades after isn't because they're open, isn't because they're with other people, none of that. It's because they are constantly sitting down and asking the other person, are you happy? What do you need more of? What can I bring you? And this is where I'm at. This is what I need more of. Do you want to do this with me? Constantly. So there's always this revolution in their relationship that gets updated with their own evolution as just a person. And then as their relationship grows as well. So my biggest tip would be, don't get married and then wait for death and anniversary once a year. Have a date night once a month, once every 6 months, where you're asking each other what you need more of, what the next year should bring you guys, what you guys could try on. Literally Google new relationship ideas. There are so many that you could challenge each other with, make it a game, but never just go side by side and become complacent with each other, because there's only one path to that, and it's boredom, it's resentment, it's anger. We have these huge relationship marks that we date, and we move in together. You meet the family, then you move in together, then maybe you buy a house, then you get married, then you have kids, and then what? And then it ends. We don't have like a next step to like challenge each other for, to want to work to prove to the other person that you are worthy of their love in the next 50 years. That I feel like we need more of that kind of yearly, bi-yearly planning of like, what do we want for next year and the next decade, and how do we work on that together?
I love that so much. So it's, oh my God, that's so powerful. And I would really invite you to rewind that part and listen to it once and again and again and again, because it's so important. Do it. Speak with your partner, explore the possibilities. There's so much more than just having kids and then waiting for them to leave the home and then waiting for death together. Because life is not about letting it go to waste and letting it pass by us. We can explore a life together as an adventure together.
Yes, I totally agree.
Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It has been so cool.
Thank you, Sasha. This was so much fun.
And please remember to find Jennifer Jade on her site. We are going to have the link in the comments and in the description, so that you can contact her and work with her. She has amazing results. I know people that have told me that they are working with her and they are so happy. So don't doubt in contacting her right away.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.